Speaking test instructions. The speaking test is 20 minutes. There are 8 tasks in the speaking test. Please try your best to answer all the questions.
Start speaking now. Time is up. 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 Start speaking now. Time is up.
Jordan, I think it's wonderful that you're considering adopting a rescue dog, as it shows your compassion for animals in need. Nevertheless, pet ownership is a significant long-term commitment that requires honest assessment of your current lifestyle and living situation. First and foremost, you need to consider whether your small apartment provides adequate space for a dog to be comfortable and healthy, particularly if you're considering a larger breed that needs room to move and exercise. Furthermore, dogs require daily walks, exercise, and mental stimulation, which can be challenging to provide consistently when you're frequently traveling for work. Additionally, rescue dogs often come with unknown histories and may need extra time, patience, and training to adjust to new environments, which requires consistent presence and attention from their owner. Moreover, frequent travel means you'd need reliable pet care arrangements, which can be expensive and stressful for both you and the dog. However, if you're genuinely committed to making this work, there are ways to address these challenges. Consequently, you could consider adopting an older, calmer dog that requires less exercise and training, or explore remote work options to reduce your travel frequency. Additionally, you might want to establish relationships with local dog walkers, pet sitters, or doggy daycare facilities before adopting. I'd also recommend fostering a dog first to test whether this arrangement works for your lifestyle before making a permanent commitment. Despite your good intentions, adopting a dog you can't properly care for due to lifestyle constraints ultimately isn't fair to the animal. The most loving thing you can do is wait until your living situation and work schedule can accommodate a dog's needs properly, ensuring you can provide the stable, loving home that rescue animals deserve. Last year, I worked on an international project team with colleagues from Japan, and I initially struggled to communicate effectively due to significant cultural differences in communication styles and business etiquette. My Japanese colleagues, particularly Hiroshi, tended to communicate very indirectly, often using subtle suggestions rather than direct requests or criticism. Furthermore, they placed much greater emphasis on group consensus and face-saving than I was accustomed to in my previous work experiences. Additionally, I noticed that during video conferences, there were often long pauses after I spoke, which I initially misinterpreted as disengagement or disagreement. The most challenging aspect was understanding when my Japanese colleagues were expressing concerns or disagreement, since they rarely stated objections directly. Moreover, my typically assertive communication style seemed to make them uncomfortable, and I could sense tension during our interactions. To address these challenges, I took several proactive steps. First, I researched Japanese business culture and communication norms to better understand the context behind their behavior. Additionally, I asked Hiroshi privately if he could help me understand the most effective ways to communicate with the team, framing it as a learning opportunity rather than criticism of their style. Consequently, I learned to slow down my speaking pace, allow more time for responses, and pay attention to nonverbal cues that indicated agreement or concern. Moreover, I started prefacing my suggestions with phrases that showed respect for group input and allowed face-saving opportunities when changes were needed. I also began following up on meetings with written summaries to ensure clear understanding. The results were remarkable. Our team's productivity improved significantly, and I developed strong working relationships with my Japanese colleagues. Additionally, I learned valuable skills about patient listening and collaborative decision-making that have enhanced my effectiveness in all professional interactions since then. This charming illustration depicts a rainy day scene in a suburban neighborhood where children and Adults are navigating the wet weather conditions with various protective measures. The scene is dominated by heavy rainfall, as evidenced by the diagonal streaks across the gray sky and the numerous puddles that have formed on the streets and sidewalks. Multiple individuals can be observed using different strategies to stay dry, including colorful umbrellas in blue, yellow, and red, while others are wearing hooded raincoats. Most notably, several children appear to be embracing the rainy weather, with some running through puddles and others walking more cautiously along the wet pavement. In the background, a purple car with its headlights illuminated is driving carefully through the flooded street, demonstrating how precipitation affects transportation. Meanwhile, residential buildings with distinct architectural styles line the street, creating a cozy neighborhood atmosphere despite the inclement weather. What makes this scene particularly endearing is the presence of a small orange cat seeking shelter, along with a paper boat floating in one of the puddles, which adds a playful element to the otherwise challenging weather conditions. Furthermore, the illustration effectively captures how communities adapt to rainy weather, with people of different ages continuing their daily activities while taking appropriate precautions. The overall composition successfully conveys both the inconvenience and the simple joys that can be found during rainy days in residential areas. Initially, the children will continue hurrying through the rain toward shelter, whereas the car passing by will likely slow down due to the wet road conditions and reduced visibility. Subsequently, those with umbrellas will probably offer to share protection with their friends who are getting soaked, while simultaneously, the orange cat will seek refuge under a nearby porch or awning. Meanwhile, the children might decide to play in the puddles despite the heavy rainfall, and consequently, their parents will undoubtedly scold them for getting their clothes completely drenched. Furthermore, the small paper boat floating in the street will presumably be carried away by the flowing water toward the storm drain. Despite the inclement weather, some children appear to be enjoying this unexpected adventure. Nevertheless, they will eventually need to find proper shelter to avoid catching cold. In addition, drivers will become more cautious as the rain intensifies, turning on headlights and reducing speed for safety. In conclusion, this sudden downpour will transform an ordinary day into an exciting experience for the children, though parents will likely hurry them indoors to change into dry clothing and prevent any potential illness from prolonged exposure to the rain. Lisa, I understand your preference for implementing stricter home study rules, but I strongly believe that hiring a private tutor represents the most effective solution for Emma's academic struggles. First and foremost, Emma's poor performance isn't simply due to lack of effort or discipline. She's clearly struggling with specific subject matter that requires professional educational expertise we don't possess as parents. Furthermore, a qualified tutor can identify exactly where Emma's knowledge gaps exist and provide targeted instruction that addresses her individual learning style and needs. Additionally, professional tutors have specialized training in teaching methods and can explain concepts in multiple ways until Emma truly understands, whereas our home supervision might simply reinforce confusion or frustration. Moreover, the one-on-one attention Emma would receive allows for personalized pacing and immediate feedback. That's impossible in crowded classroom settings where teachers must focus on multiple students simultaneously. Although the monthly expense is significant, consider this an investment in Emma's educational foundation that will benefit her throughout high school and beyond. Consequently, successful tutoring now could prevent the need for more expensive interventions later, such as summer school or repeating grades. Despite the stricter home study rules being cost-effective, They could actually increase family tension and make homework time a battleground rather than a positive learning experience. Additionally, as parents, we may unknowingly use outdated teaching methods or lack expertise in subjects where Emma needs the most help. The tutoring option provides professional support while preserving our parent-child relationship and reducing homework-related stress at home. Don't you think Emma deserves the specialized help that could transform her academic confidence and success rather than just more pressure at home? Lisa, while I appreciate your concern about the expense of private tutoring, I believe changing schools is actually the most comprehensive solution to address Emma's academic struggles effectively. First and foremost, Emma's poor performance might be symptomatic of a fundamental mismatch between her learning needs and the teaching methods or educational environment at her current school. Furthermore, some schools simply have better resources, smaller class sizes, or more experienced teachers who are better equipped to support students who are struggling academically. Additionally, a fresh start in a new school environment could provide Emma with renewed motivation and confidence, free from the negative associations and lowered expectations that may have developed at her current school. Moreover, changing schools addresses multiple factors simultaneously: teaching quality, peer influences, and overall school culture, rather than just providing supplementary support through tutoring while leaving the underlying problems unresolved. Although social disruption and adjustment are legitimate concerns, Emma is already experiencing academic and possibly social difficulties at her current school, so the change might actually improve both aspects of her school experience. Consequently, investing in a better educational environment could provide long-term benefits that extend far beyond just improving grades, including better preparation for high school and college. Despite the stricter home study rules being well-intentioned, they essentially place the burden of solving educational problems on our family rather than addressing the root causes within Emma's learning environment. Additionally, even excellent tutoring may only provide temporary improvement if the fundamental school environment isn't supporting Emma's educational needs effectively. Consider that many successful students thrive simply because they're in schools that match their learning styles and provide appropriate support. Don't you think Emma deserves an educational environment where she can naturally succeed rather than constantly struggling to keep up? David, I need to share some very difficult feelings with you about your decision to leave medical school, and I hope you'll hear me out completely before responding. First and foremost, I want you to know that I love you unconditionally and will always be proud of the person you've become, regardless of your career choices. Nevertheless, I'm deeply concerned about this decision and feel obligated to express why I believe you should reconsider leaving medical school so close to graduation. Furthermore, our entire family has made significant financial sacrifices over the past several years to support your medical education, including taking out loans and delaying our own retirement plans, because we believed in your dream of becoming a doctor. Additionally, you're literally months away from achieving something extraordinary that most people never have the opportunity to pursue. And walking away now means that all of those years of hard work and sacrifice essentially become meaningless. Moreover, I'm worried that you're making this decision during a particularly stressful period rather than from a clear-headed perspective about your long-term goals and values. Although I understand that medical school has been challenging and that music brings you joy, consider that you could potentially pursue both interests. Many doctors have fulfilling creative hobbies, and some even build successful second careers in music after establishing financial stability through medicine. Consequently, completing your medical degree doesn't mean abandoning music forever. But leaving now makes it nearly impossible to return to medicine if your music career doesn't provide sustainable income. Despite your passion for music, very few musicians achieve financial success, and you'd be giving up guaranteed career security for an extremely uncertain path. Would you be willing to at least complete this final year before making such a life-altering decision? That way, you'd have your medical degree as a foundation, regardless of what direction you choose afterward. Patricia, I understand you're furious about David's decision to leave medical school, and I share your disappointment and frustration about the financial sacrifices we've made. Nevertheless, I believe that cutting off all support would be a catastrophic mistake that could permanently damage our relationship with our son and push him away from our family when he needs guidance most. First and foremost, David is an adult who ultimately has the right to make his own career decisions, even if we strongly disagree with them. And our role as parents should be to provide love and guidance rather than financial coercion. Furthermore, withdrawing our support now would likely be interpreted as conditional love based on his career choices rather than genuine concern for his well-being and happiness. Additionally, if we cut him off financially and emotionally, David will make this transition without any family input or support, potentially making even worse decisions because he feels he has no one to turn to for advice. Moreover, maintaining our relationship gives us the opportunity to continue influencing his decisions and potentially help him find compromises, such as taking a leave of absence rather than permanently withdrawing from medical school. Although our financial sacrifices feel wasted right now, consider that completely severing ties with David could mean losing our son forever over a career decision that might not even be permanent. Consequently, if we support him through this transition while expressing our concerns respectfully, he's more likely to value our opinions and possibly reconsider his choices in the future. Despite how painful this situation is, many families have navigated similar disappointments and maintained strong relationships by prioritizing love over control. Additionally, if David's music career fails, he'll need our emotional support to rebuild his life, and cutting him off now would eliminate our ability to help him during future difficulties. Don't you think preserving our relationship with David is more important than punishing him for disappointing us? I believe social media companies should bear some legal responsibility for the mental health impacts of their platforms, though this responsibility should be structured thoughtfully rather than through blanket liability that could harm innovation and free expression. First and foremost, these companies employ teams of psychologists and data scientists who deliberately design features to maximize user engagement through potentially addictive mechanisms, making them partially responsible for the negative consequences of their design choices. Furthermore, research has increasingly demonstrated clear connections between excessive social media use and various mental health issues, particularly among teenagers and young adults who are especially vulnerable to social comparison and cyberbullying facilitated by these platforms. Additionally, social media companies have access to vast amounts of user data that could help them identify harmful usage patterns and implement protective interventions. Yet most companies prioritize engagement metrics over user well-being in their algorithmic designs. Moreover, other industries that impact public health, such as tobacco, food, and pharmaceutical companies, face regulatory oversight and legal accountability for their products' health effects. So social media platforms shouldn't be exempt from similar scrutiny. Nevertheless, determining appropriate legal frameworks requires careful consideration to avoid stifling legitimate technological innovation or infringing on free speech rights that these platforms support. Consequently, I'd suggest that legal responsibility should focus on requiring companies to implement evidence-based safety features, provide transparent reporting about their platform's mental health impacts, and give users meaningful control over algorithmic content delivery rather than making companies liable for all user mental health outcomes. Additionally, regulations could require platforms to fund independent research on mental health impacts and collaborate with mental health professionals to develop protective features for vulnerable users. Therefore, while social media companies shouldn't face unlimited liability for user mental health, they should be legally required to prioritize user well-being alongside engagement and profit, similar to safety requirements in other industries that affect public health. Lisa, you absolutely won't believe what I just saw at David's house today. While we were chatting in his living room, I noticed the most extraordinary piece of furniture I've ever encountered in my entire life. He has this incredible rocking chair that's been crafted to look exactly like a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, but it's completely functional as a rocking chair. The entire piece is made from gorgeous, richly grained wood with absolutely phenomenal attention to detail. Not only does it have realistic handlebars that you can actually grip while rocking, but it also features authentic-looking headlights, a fuel tank, exhaust pipes, and even motorcycle wheels that have been seamlessly integrated into the rocking mechanism. What makes this even more remarkable is how the seat is upholstered in genuine black leather with what appears to be an official Harley-Davidson emblem embossed right into the backrest. Furthermore, the craftsmanship is absolutely mind-blowing, every single detail from the chrome-like accents to the intricate wood carving makes it look like a real motorcycle that's been transformed into furniture. David mentioned that it was custom made by a local artisan who specializes in unique furniture pieces. Honestly, sitting in it feels like you're riding a motorcycle while enjoying the gentle rocking motion. Given how much you appreciate unique home decor and functional art pieces, I immediately thought you'd be fascinated by this incredible combination of automotive design and traditional furniture craftsmanship.